"Don't shoot me, human. Let me live, and I'll warm your bed." "Daily," whispered the alien woman. Dear listener, if you enjoy human versus alien stories filled with suspense and mystery, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next part of the adventure. The night was cold, and the battlefield was silent. Only the wind moved through the ruins, carrying the smell of smoke and burned metal. A lone human soldier walked carefully between broken walls and shattered vehicles. His boots crunched softly on the ground, and his rifle stayed ready in his hands. He thought he was alone. He thought all enemies were gone, but then he heard it. A whisper, soft, fragile, almost like the sound of breath against glass. "Don't shoot, please." The soldier froze. His finger hovered on the trigger. His heart raced inside his chest, pounding so loud he thought the enemy might hear it. Slowly, he turned toward the sound. There, in the corner of a ruined bunker, a figure moved, weak, shaking. Slowly, a woman stepped out of the shadows. Her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight, smooth and strange. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, shining like silver pools. Her body trembled, and her hands were raised in surrender. She was not human. She was alien. The soldier's training screamed at him to shoot. His orders were clear. No alien must be spared. They were the enemy. They were dangerous. They had taken lives, destroyed cities, and burned worlds. But this one, she looked different. "Don't shoot me, human." Her voice trembled like broken glass. "Let me live, and I will warm your bed daily." The words hit him like a shock. His rifle stayed raised, but his mind spun. Was this a trick? A trap? Or a desperate cry from someone who wanted to live? The woman fell to her knees, her silver eyes never leaving his face. She looked weak, wounded, almost ready to collapse, her HFY in arms wrapped around herself, not in attack, but in fear. The soldier's breath came heavy. His finger squeezed slightly on the trigger. One pull, and she would be gone forever. One pull, and he would be safe. And yet, something held him back. Her voice. It was not just fear in her tone. It was promise. It was survival. It was something he had not heard in years. Hope. The soldier took a step closer, his weapon still aimed. He studied her face. Her lips trembled as she whispered again, softer this time. "I can give you more than survival. Let me live, and I will give you loyalty, warmth, a family." The words hung heavy in the night air. He remembered the long days of war, the endless nights of cold, and the crushing loneliness that followed him like a shadow. He had no family left, no one waiting for him. Only orders, only battles. And now, here was an enemy, an alien, offering the very thing he had lost. The soldier's jaw tightened. He lowered his rifle, but only slightly. His voice came out low, sharp, and cautious. "Why should I believe you?" The alien woman bowed her head, silver tears running down her cheeks. "Because I have nothing left to lie for," she whispered. "My own people hunt me. If you kill me, I am gone. If you let me live, I am yours." The silence between them stretched. The soldier could hear his own heartbeat, could see her chest rising and falling with each frightened breath. Somewhere in the distance, the sound of alien patrols echoed. The danger was not over. They were not alone. But for this moment, the soldier had to make a choice. Shoot or trust. The whisper of the alien woman seemed to cling to the night air, pulling him toward a decision that could change everything. And as the shadows moved closer, her silver eyes never looked away from his. The soldier's rifle trembled in his hands. His instincts screamed for him to end the alien's life right there. It would be easy. One pull of the trigger, one flash of light, and his mission would remain pure. But something inside him resisted. Something in her silver eyes and broken voice reached deeper than his orders. The alien woman stayed on her knees, hands raised, body trembling. The faint glow of her skin shimmered like soft moonlight. She looked fragile, yet her presence filled the ruined bunker with tension so thick it was hard to breathe. "You said your people are hunting you," the soldier finally whispered. His voice was rough, the voice of a man who had seen too much war. "Why? Why would they turn on one of their own?" Her lips trembled before words came. "Because I refused," she said softly. "I refused to kill a child. My kind call me a traitor now. They will not forgive me." The soldier's jaw tightened. He studied her carefully, looking for lies. But her trembling hands, her uneven breaths, her tear-stained face, all of it seemed real. Too real. The soldier lowered his rifle a little more, though his eyes stayed sharp. "And why me? Why beg me?" The alien woman slowly lifted her head. Her eyes glowed faintly, catching the moonlight. "Because you are human," she whispered. "Because I have watched your kind fight even when you should have fallen. Because I know humans can be cruel, but I have also seen mercy." The words cut through him like a blade. He thought of the war, the burning skies, the dead left behind. Mercy was not something he had seen in a long time, yet here she was, clinging to it like her last breath. The soldier glanced toward the broken wall of the bunker. In the distance, faint shadows moved, alien patrols sweeping the battlefield. He knew they would not stop until they found their lost prey. "You are dangerous," he muttered. "Keep it," and his rifle steady. "You could be leading me into a trap." Her silver eyes widened, glistening with fear. "If I wanted to trap you, you would already be dead. My people would have been waiting." She swallowed hard. "But I came alone. I have nothing but my voice, and this offer." She lowered her hand slowly, pressing one palm against her chest. "Let me live, human. I will guide you through their territory. I know where they hunt, where they sleep, where they bleed. With me, you will survive. Without me—" She shook her head. "You will not last the night." Her words echoed in the bunker like a dangerous promise. The soldier tightened his grip on his rifle. Trusting her could mean death, but killing her might mean losing his only chance to escape this battlefield alive. "What do you want in return?" His voice was like stone. Her lips curved into the faintest, saddest smile. "Only what I said. Warmth, loyalty, a family. I cannot change the war, but I can give you myself." The soldier's breath caught. Her words were not just survival. They were intimacy. Something deeper. Something dangerous in its own way. He turned his head slightly, scanning the ruins outside. The shadows of alien hunters were closer now. He had little time to choose. Finally, he looked back at her. "If you betray me, I will not hesitate." The alien nodded quickly, her silver eyes fierce, despite her fear. "If I betray you, I deserve death." For a long moment, silence fell again. Only the sound of the wind passed through the cracks of the bunker. At last, the soldier lowered his rifle fully. He didn't holster it, but his aim dropped to the ground. "Then we move," he said coldly. The alien gasped softly, relief flooding her expression. She rose slowly, swaying on weak legs. "I will not fail you." "Don't thank me yet," he muttered, moving toward the exit. "If this is a mistake, it will be our last." She followed close behind him, her steps silent, her presence heavy with both fear and strange devotion. As they slipped into the ruined streets, the distant voices of her people grew louder. The hunt was on. The human soldier knew the bargain he had made was dangerous, but as the alien woman walked beside him, whispering directions and warnings, he could not shake the feeling that this night was only the beginning. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the weight of war, a spark of something unfamiliar stirred, hope and fear. Because he realized one truth: if she was lying, if this was all a trick, his end would not come from an enemy's weapon. It would come from the very woman he had chosen to spare. The soldier led the way through broken streets, his rifle raised, his eyes sharp. The alien woman followed close behind, her breath shallow, her steps soft. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound of shifting rubble made his finger tighten on the trigger. The ruins stretched around them, once a human city, now a wasteland of fire and silence. Towers stood broken, windows shattered like jagged teeth. The night sky was heavy with smoke, and the faint glow of alien patrol lights moved in the distance. "We cannot go that way," the alien whispered urgently, pointing toward the patrol. "They search the northern sector. They know I escaped." The soldier glanced at her, suspicion in his eyes. "And how do I know you are not leading me right into them?" Her silver eyes shimmered in the dim light. "Because if I wanted you dead, I would not warn you at all." He said nothing, but he kept moving, shifting their path into a darker alley. The walls closed in, covered in scorch marks. The air smelled of dust and rusted blood. They finally reached an abandoned bunker buried under rubble. The soldier checked carefully before entering, sweeping every corner with his weapon. When he was certain it was clear, he allowed her inside. The alien woman sank to the ground, her body shaking from exhaustion. She pressed one hand against her side, and he noticed the dark stain there. "You're bleeding," he said flatly. Her lips curved into a weak smile. "It is nothing. Not yet." But he could see it was not nothing. The wound glowed faintly, strange and unnatural, but still bleeding. She needed care. The soldier sighed, pulling a small pack from his belt. "Stay still." Her eyes widened. "You will help me?" "Don't mistake this for kindness," he growled. "If you die, I lose my guide. That's all." Still, his hands were steady as he cleaned and bound her wound with human cloth. She watched him in silence, her silver eyes reflecting firelight like liquid mirrors. After a long moment, she spoke softly. "You have lost someone, haven't you?" His hands froze, his jaw clenched. "What do you know of me?" "I can see it," she whispered. "In your eyes, in the way you carry yourself. There is a shadow around you, heavier than war. You fight not for victory, but because there is nothing else left." The soldier's chest tightened. For a moment, he almost forgot she was the enemy. Almost. "You talk too much," he muttered, finishing the bandage. But her words echoed inside him. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the faint rumble of enemy patrols outside. The alien finally lowered her gaze, her voice barely more than breath. "My name is Leora." The soldier stiffened. A name. She was giving him a piece of herself. He almost didn't respond, but then, against his own instincts, he spoke. "Daniel." Leora's lips trembled with something like relief. "Daniel," she whispered, as if the sound itself gave her strength. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," he said sharply. "Not yet." But she smiled faintly, and the bunker seemed less cold. As the night deepened, Daniel sat against the wall, rifle across his knees. Leora curled near the corner, her silver glow dim, her breaths unsteady. In the quiet, she began to speak again. "Do you know what my people believe? They believe humans are weak. They say you cling to love, to family, to dreams that mean nothing in war. They call it foolish. They call it pathetic." Her silver eyes lifted, meeting his. "But that is why I chose you. Because your weakness is also your strength. You fight for more than orders. You fight for what you have lost." Daniel looked away, his throat tight. Her words cut too close. "Stop talking," he muttered. "Rest. We move at dawn." But even as he closed his eyes, her voice lingered in his mind. Warmth, loyalty, a family. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt something dangerous stirring inside his chest. Not fear, not rage, something softer, something he thought had died long ago. Hope. Outside, the enemy patrols grew louder, their lights sweeping closer. The night was not safe. Danger crept nearer with every second. But inside the bunker, two enemies sat side by side, bound not by orders or blood, but by a fragile secret they dared not speak aloud. And as the silence stretched, Daniel realized one terrifying truth. If he let this bond grow, if he let himself believe her words, the war would no longer be his only battle. The real fight would be inside his own heart. The bunker was quiet, too quiet. Daniel sat with his rifle across his knees, listening to the faint hum of alien patrol ships in the distance. The silence was not peace. It was the kind that came before the storm. Leora rested against the cracked wall, her silver glow dim, her breaths shallow. The bandage he had wrapped around her side was dark with blood. Still, her eyes stayed open, watching him. She did not sleep. She did not dare. "Daniel," she whispered softly, "they are closer now, my people. They will not stop until they find me." Daniel's grip on his rifle tightened. He had known this truth from the moment he spared her life, but hearing it in her trembling voice made it real. "Then we need to move." She shook her head slowly. "Not yet. If we step into the streets now, they will see us. We must wait until they pass." Daniel's eyes narrowed. Waiting meant risk. Waiting meant being trapped. But her voice carried a strange certainty, and despite himself, he listened. Minutes dragged like hours. The bunker grew colder, the air heavy with smoke and dust. Every creak of stone, every shift of shadow outside, made Daniel's pulse quicken. Then it came. A low rumble, the sharp crack of boots on broken stone. Alien voices echoed through the night, speaking in sharp tones Daniel could not understand. Their language was harsh, filled with clicks and growls, but Leora's eyes widened in fear. "They know I'm near," she whispered. "They can smell me." Daniel cursed under his breath. He motioned for her to stay quiet. Slowly, he rose to his feet and moved toward the broken gap in the wall. Through the cracks, he saw them. 3 alien soldiers, their armor glinting under pale moonlight, their weapons glowing with blue light. They swept the ruins with sharp movements, scanning every corner. Daniel held his breath. His finger hovered on the trigger. He could take one down, maybe 2, but not all 3 before they called reinforcements. Behind him, Leora's glow flickered faintly. She pressed a hand over her mouth to keep silent, but Daniel could see the terror in her silver eyes. The aliens drew closer. One of them stepped near the bunker, its weapon raised, its head turning sharply as if listening. Daniel's chest tightened. If it stepped inside, there would be no choice but to fight. The moment stretched, a thin thread ready to snap. Then, crash. A piece of rubble collapsed outside, far to the left. The aliens turned at once, their voices sharp, their weapons aimed. 2 of them moved toward the sound, leaving only one standing guard near the bunker. Daniel's eyes narrowed. An opening. He turned slightly, whispering back to Leora, "Stay down. Don't move." Before she could answer, he slipped into the shadows and crept closer to the entrance. His boots made no sound on the broken floor. His breath was steady, his heart like a drum in his chest. The lone alien soldier scanned the darkness, its weapon glowing faintly. Daniel waited, hidden in shadow, counting its movements. 1 step, 2, turn, pause. Then he struck. Daniel lunged forward, his arm wrapping around the alien's neck, his rifle pressed hard against its head. The creature thrashed violently, its claws scraping against his armor, but Daniel held firm. With one sharp motion, he ended it silently. The alien collapsed, its weapon falling with a soft thud. Daniel dragged the body back into the bunker, his breaths heavy. Leora stared, her eyes wide, her face pale. "You killed him without a sound," she whispered. Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow. "Had to. The others will return soon." Leora's voice trembled. "They will not stop, Daniel. The moment they find his body, they will know I am with you. They will hunt us harder than before." Daniel's jaw tightened. He already knew she was right. Outside, the sound of alien voices grew louder again. The 2 soldiers had returned, and their harsh cries carried fury. They had discovered the silence of their missing comrade. "They know," Leora breathed. Daniel grabbed her arm firmly, helping her stand despite her wound. "Then we run." The bunker shook as a blast of energy tore through the wall. Dust and fire rained down, filling the air with choking smoke. The aliens had found them. Daniel pulled Leora close, his body shielding hers. "Stay behind me." They burst through the other side of the bunker, stumbling into the ruins of the street. Beams of blue light streaked past them, searing the air where they had stood moments before. The aliens shouted, their voices filled with rage. Daniel fired back, his rifle cracking like thunder. One alien staggered, hit in the shoulder, but it did not fall. Their armor was strong, too strong. "Keep moving." "Ing!" he shouted. Leora staggered beside him, her silver glow flickering weakly. Every step was pain, but she forced herself onward. Her voice was desperate as she cried out, "Down the alley! This way!" They dove into a narrow path between crumbling walls, the enemy's footsteps pounding close behind. Daniel fired again, the blast lighting the dark passage, buying them seconds. Only seconds. The chase thundered through the ruins, every step filled with danger. Daniel's chest burned, his muscles screamed, but he did not slow. Leora clung to his arm, guiding him, her whisper urgent. "Almost there, just a little farther." The alien hunters roared behind them, their lights slicing through the dark. Daniel's heart pounded, his mind racing. He had chosen to trust her, to risk everything for a bargain with an enemy. And now, the weight of that choice pressed down like never before. Because tonight, survival meant more than his rifle. It meant trusting Leora with his life. And if she was wrong, if her promise was only a lie, then death would come for them both before the dawn. The alley twisted like a broken snake, narrow walls closing in on both sides. Daniel and Leora stumbled through the rubble, their breaths ragged, their shadows stretching long under the pale moonlight. Behind them, alien voices shouted sharp and furious. The hunt was still alive. Daniel fired back blindly, his rifle's crack echoing through the ruins. The blasts bought them a heartbeat of silence, nothing more. He knew the enemy would not stop. They were disciplined, relentless, and faster than he wanted to admit. Leora clutched her side as she ran, her wound reopening with every step. Her silver glow flickered weaker now, as if her very life dimmed. Daniel glanced at her, jaw tightening. She wouldn't last much longer like this. "Here," she gasped suddenly, pointing toward a collapsed building. "Inside, before they see us." Without hesitation, Daniel pulled her through the broken frame of a shattered door. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling as they pressed against the wall. He kept his rifle raised, scanning the street outside. The alien hunters ran past, their lights sweeping wildly. For a moment it seemed they hadn't noticed, but Daniel knew better. The chase wasn't over. It was only paused. When the sound of footsteps faded, Daniel turned to Leora. She was pale, her silver eyes dull, her breath coming in shallow gasps. "You're bleeding too much," he muttered. She smiled weakly. "Your bandage was strong, but I am not." Daniel cursed under his breath. He knelt beside her, tearing more cloth from his pack. His hands worked quickly, pressing against her wound, tightening the bandage. She winced, but did not pull away. Her eyes stayed fixed on him, watching his every movement. Finally, she whispered, "Why do you help me, Daniel? You could have left me. You should have left me." Daniel froze. The question hung heavy in the air. He had no clear answer. His orders told him to kill her. His instincts warned him to distrust her. And yet, here he was, holding her life in his hands. "I don't know," he admitted finally. His voice was rough, almost broken. "Maybe because you asked me not to shoot." Her lips trembled, and for the first time since he met her, Leora laughed softly. It was faint, fragile, but it echoed strangely in the broken building. "You are different from my people," she whispered. "Different from your own soldiers, too, I think." Daniel said nothing. He only tightened the bandage and looked away. Moments passed in silence. The only sound was her shallow breathing and the faint hum of enemy patrols in the distance. Then Leora reached out with a trembling hand, touching his wrist lightly. "Daniel, when I said I could give you warmth, a family, I meant it." Her voice shook, but her eyes glowed with sincerity. "I am not lying. I am not tricking you. I would give you everything I have left if you let me." Her words struck. Harder than any enemy weapon. Daniel's chest tightened. His throat felt dry. He wanted to deny her, to push away the strange bond forming between them, but he could not, because deep inside he felt it too. Loneliness, hunger for something beyond war. He pulled his hand away, his voice sharp again. "Don't say that now. We don't know if we'll live through the night." But Leora only smiled faintly. "That is why I say it now, because we may not have tomorrow." Daniel turned his head, unwilling to meet her eyes. His rifle felt heavier than ever in his hands. Then, suddenly, the ceiling above them creaked. Dust rained down. A shadow passed over the crack in the wall. Daniel's instincts flared. He motioned for silence, raising his weapon. Leora pressed herself against the floor, her glow dimming as much as she could. Footsteps, slow, careful, right outside. Daniel held his breath, finger tight on the trigger. One wrong move, and they were finished. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Daniel's muscles ached from stillness. Then, finally, the sound moved away. The enemy was gone, for now. He exhaled slowly, lowering his rifle. His heart thundered in his chest. Leora looked at him with wide eyes, her hand still pressed over her wound. "You saved me again." Daniel shook his head. "Don't thank me yet. We're not safe. Not even close." But even as he said it, something inside him shifted. He realized he was no longer thinking of her as an enemy, or even as a burden. She was his partner now, his fragile, dangerous partner. And that truth frightened him more than the alien hunters outside. Because the deeper he trusted her, the harder it would be to let go, if he ever had to. The ruins were alive with sound again. Shouts, footsteps, the humming whine of alien weapons charging. Daniel pressed his back to the cracked wall of the ruined building, his rifle steady in his grip. Beside him, Leora crouched low, her glow faint but still visible, her breaths coming fast. "They're closing in," Daniel muttered. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "We can't stay here. They'll corner us." Leora winced as pain shot through her wound. "There is a tunnel. Under the streets. Old human supply routes. If we reach it, we can vanish." Daniel studied her for a long moment. "And you're sure this isn't another trap?" Her silver eyes met his, firm and unflinching. "If it were, Daniel, I would not still be bleeding in front of you." He almost smiled, but the sound of boots on stone erased the thought. The enemy was near, too near. Daniel motioned toward the back of the building. "Show me." They moved quickly, slipping through broken halls until they reached a half-collapsed stairwell leading underground. The passage was dark and narrow, dust thick in the air. Daniel went first, rifle raised, while Leora followed, her glow just enough to light the path. The tunnel stretched long beneath the ruins. Rusted pipes lined the ceiling, dripping water into shallow puddles. The walls were carved from stone, cracked from years of war. Their footsteps echoed softly, too loud for Daniel's liking. "This way," Leora whispered, pointing down a side path. "It leads out beyond the patrols." Daniel nodded, but unease twisted in his chest. Every step into the darkness felt like walking deeper into a trap. Still, he followed, because he had no other choice. They had gone only a short distance when a sharp sound stopped them. Voices, echoing. Daniel raised his hand, motioning for silence. He pulled Leora behind a fallen beam, crouching low as the sound grew louder. Alien soldiers. At least 4 of them, moving through the tunnel ahead. Their weapons glowed faintly, casting shadows across the walls. Daniel cursed under his breath. They were trapped. If they tried to turn back, the patrol above would catch them. If they moved forward, they would walk straight into the enemy. Leora's hand tightened around his arm. "They will smell me," she whispered, fear trembling in her voice. "We cannot hide long." Daniel's mind raced. He had faced impossible odds before. He had fought battles where survival seemed hopeless. But this was different. This time, he wasn't fighting just for himself. He looked at Leora. Her face was pale, her wound still bleeding, her silver eyes full of trust. She had no strength left to fight. If he abandoned her now, he might escape alone. But if he stayed, if he fought for her, death would almost surely find them both. The choice burned inside him, survival or loyalty, his life or hers. For a long moment, Daniel said nothing. Then his grip tightened on his rifle. His jaw hardened. "I'm not leaving you." Leora's eyes widened, her lips parted, but no words came. The alien soldiers drew closer. Their voices echoed like thunder in the tunnel. Daniel stood, pressing his back against the wall, his rifle raised and ready. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "If I fall, run." But Leora shook her head, tears shining in her eyes. "No, if you fall, I fall too. I gave you my promise. I will not leave you." The sound of enemy boots filled the air. The patrol was only steps away now. Daniel took a steady breath, his finger on the trigger. The first shadow appeared around the corner. A towering figure in dark armor, weapon glowing bright. Daniel fired. The tunnel exploded with light and sound. The alien soldier staggered, collapsing with a roar. Shouts filled the air as the others surged forward. Energy blasts ripped through the darkness, striking stone and spraying sparks. Daniel moved fast, his rifle spitting fire. One shot, then another. The tunnel shook with the fury of battle. But there were too many. An energy blast struck near his shoulder, sending him crashing into the wall, his vision blurred, pain burning through his arm. "Daniel!" Leora cried, rushing to his side. She lifted her hand, her silver glow suddenly brightening. Her skin shimmered, and for the first time, Daniel saw something new, her power. The light spread like a shield, a shimmering barrier of silver energy. The alien blast struck it and scattered, sparks dancing in the tunnel. Daniel stared in shock. You can do this?" Leora's face twisted with pain, her glow shaking. "Only for a moment. It will not hold long." The alien soldiers roared, pushing forward. Daniel rose again, ignoring the fire in his arm, and unleashed another volley of shots. One enemy fell, then another, but more pressed in. The tunnel became chaos, shouts, blasts, silver light and human fire. Finally, silence. Smoke hung heavy in the air. The last alien soldier collapsed to the ground, its armor sparking with dying energy. Daniel leaned against the wall, chest heaving, his rifle almost slipping from his grasp. Liora collapsed beside him, her glow fading, her strength nearly gone. "You saved us," he said softly. Her eyes met his, weary but bright. "No, Daniel. We saved each other." He didn't answer. He only looked at her, at the fragile trust binding them in the darkness. And in that moment, Daniel knew one thing for certain. His choice was made. He would not survive this war alone. He would survive it with her, or not at all. The tunnel was silent now, except for the sound of 2 ragged breaths. Smoke curled in the air, mixing with the stench of burned armor. The bodies of alien soldiers lay scattered, their weapons dark and lifeless. Daniel leaned heavily against the cracked wall, his arm throbbing from the burn of the enemy's shot. His rifle hung loosely at his side, the last of its energy cells drained. He was alive. Barely. Beside him, Liora slumped against the floor, her silver glow faint and flickering. Her shield had saved them, but it had nearly consumed her in the process. Her eyes were half closed, her face pale, her breath shallow. Daniel dropped beside her, pulling her gently against his chest. "Stay with me," he whispered urgently. "Don't you dare quit on me now." Her lips trembled, forming a faint smile. "You're giving me orders, like a soldier." "Because I am a soldier," he said firmly, though his voice cracked. "And I'm not losing you. Not after all this." Her silver eyes opened weakly, shimmering with unshed tears. "Why, Daniel? Why save me? Why not walk away when you had the chance?" Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked at her, really looked at her, and realized the answer had been growing inside him since the moment she whispered those first words. "Don't shoot me, human." "Because I believe you," he said softly. "Because somewhere in all this hell, I still want to believe in something. Someone. And you gave me that." Her tears slid down her cheeks. Slowly, painfully, she reached a hand up and touched his face. Her skin was cool, glowing faintly under his rough fingers. "Then I will not fail you. I swear it." For a moment, the war seemed far away. For a moment, it was only them. 2 enemies turned allies, bound by something neither could fully explain. But the moment did not last. A distant rumble shook the tunnel. Dust rained from the ceiling. Daniel's instincts flared. This was no patrol. This was heavier, stronger. Liora's eyes widened in terror. "They've sent hunters." Daniel frowned. "Hunters?" "The elite," she whispered. "Not soldiers, not scouts, killers. They won't stop, not until one of us is dead." Daniel's blood ran cold. They had fought soldiers and nearly died. If these hunters were worse. He pulled her to her feet, ignoring her cries of pain. "We move, now!" Together, they staggered through the tunnel, their shadows long in the faint glow of her light. Every step echoed like a drumbeat of doom. Behind them, the sound grew louder. Metallic footsteps, heavy and precise, closing in. Daniel's grip on his empty rifle tightened. He had no ammo left. His sidearm was gone, and Liora was too weak to call her shield again. They were running on nothing but willpower now. At last, the tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber, an old human supply depot, long abandoned. Rusted vehicles lined the walls, their frames covered in dust. Broken crates and shattered glass littered the floor. It should have felt like safety. Instead, it felt like a tomb. Liora stumbled, nearly collapsing. Daniel caught her, holding her steady. Her voice was weak, broken. "If they find us here, Daniel, you must run. Leave me. Save yourself." He turned sharply, his eyes blazing. "No. I told you before, I'm not leaving you, not ever." She stared at him, stunned. For a moment, her silver eyes glowed with something more than fear, something like hope. The chamber trembled again. The hunters were near. Daniel pulled Leora behind the rusted shell of a transport vehicle, his heart hammering. He scanned the shadows, every muscle tense. Then he saw them. Figures emerging from the darkness, tall, armored in black that shimmered like oil. Their weapons pulsed with deadly energy, sharper and brighter than anything he had faced before. Their movements were precise, methodical, inhuman. 3 of them, hunters. Daniel's breath caught, his body screamed with exhaustion, his wounds burned, but he forced himself to stand tall, rifle raised, though it was useless. Leora's hand gripped his arm weakly. "Daniel, you cannot win this fight." His jaw clenched. "Then I'll die trying." The hunters advanced, their glowing eyes fixed on him. The chamber filled with the hum of their weapons charging. Sparks lit the air like lightning. Daniel glanced at Leora, her face pale, but her eyes locked on his. In that single look, they understood each other. This was the end, or the beginning. He tightened his grip on his weapon, his voice steady despite the storm ahead. "Stay behind me." The hunters raised their weapons. Light flared, brighter than the sun, and then darkness swallowed everything.